issues that we've discussed tonight. He's a member of the Board of Supervisors. He is also a member of the MTA, the board that oversees the rapid transit system in Los Angeles. He's also the father of the Orange Line. He was and a lot of people were here when he made this pitch, I guess, or that we need something built in our lifetime that'll relieve the congestion in the San Fernando Valley, not some pie in the sky project 30 years down the road. And that has led to the Orange Line, which is the dedicated bus line that goes the east-west through the valley and through. He'll discuss that this evening. Also, he's a member of the Los Angeles Coliseum Commission. It's struggling what to do with that facility and what to do with USC football. But more importantly, he's a person that a lot of you have known for many, many years. I am on a county commission with him, so I tend to see him every 2 weeks. And over the 31 years that I've been involved with elected officials, most elected officials, they talk the talk, they take the polls, they see what's of interest to the public, and they kind of talk that talk, and whether they actually take action or whether they can ever accomplish anything is often up to debate. But what I've seen about our speaker this evening is kind of passion. Most elected officials don't have the passion. They may have oratory skills, but they don't have the passion. And the two issues that we tend to discuss that involve his passion as well as mine is transportation and questions about overdevelopment and what they're doing to many areas of the city. So with that, I'd like to introduce our speaker this evening, Supervisor Zev Yaroslavsky.
Thank you, Richard, and it's good to be here. I couldn't help but note that tomorrow is the 14th anniversary of what I call the Sherman Oaks earthquake. Everybody else calls it the Northridge earthquake, but we had a lot of damage in Sherman Oaks. I remember that morning real well. After I woke up, was awakened by the earthquake at 4:01. Of course, out of deference to my wife, I immediately went and checked on my mother-in-law. She was fine, and then I came over the hill to on Beverly Glen down. I got over to Mulholland, and I saw dawn was just beginning to break, and it was one of the eeriest sights I remember ever seeing. There was smoke that had collected in kind of an inversion layer over the hills and over the south part of the valley where Ventura Boulevard, because the Rouse was on fire, and several of the homes up in the hills where we lost a couple of several people, fatalities, so their homes were on fire. And there was this pall of smoke that had been collecting over Sherman Oaks, and this glow from the fire at the Rouse at Hazleton and Ventura Boulevard. I will never forget that as long as that. Then we come to find out later that day, which is something that took us a few hours to find out, how ravaged Sherman Oaks was by the earthquake in some of the apartment house neighborhoods between here and Van Nuys, Sepulveda, and Kester. That the focus was all on Northridge. Then we come to find out that we had quite a bit of damage here. But it's a testament to the resiliency of Sherman Oaks and its vitality that 14 years later, there's, as far as I know, no remnant of the quake. It hasn't been for a number of years. It's not the same that can be said for other communities around the state which have had earthquakes. The Bay Area, you can still find remnants there of damage that has not been repaired, and certainly in other parts of the country. So you live in a very, very vital and vibrant neighborhood. I wanted to touch base on a couple of things tonight, and I do want to speak about development. Even though I'm not a city official anymore, and I'm not going back to the city, I do live in the city, and I'm a resident of the city, and I'm a resident of this district. And I have 19 and a half years of my life, of my professional life, invested in land use regulation and specific plans and community plans and height limits and density limitations and the like. when I was a city councilman for that period of time, 1975 1994. And I remember many of the battles that we had, and we didn't always agree on everything, but we fortunately agreed on most things. And it wasn't just me. Joel Wax represented Sherman Oaks for his entire career, parts of Sherman Oaks for his entire career, and we shared Sherman Oaks in Studio City for a period of time. Marvin Browdy on the other side of the hill and to the west of the San Diego Freeway in Encino, he represented that area. Joy Pikus, who represented the West San Fernando Valley. And I won't go through all of them, but there were quite a few members of the City Council who took the issue of land use seriously, who, whether they understood land use when they ran, as I certainly didn't appreciate when I was walking precincts the first time, how complicated and how important an issue it was. It didn't take me more than a few minutes to figure it out. To tell you the funny story, when I was interviewed by the Westwood Homely Homeowners Association in 1975 for their endorsement, they asked me what I thought about density, and I was just a couple of years out of college at the time, and the only thing I knew about density was what I learned in the chemistry class, and that wasn't the density they had in mind. I did bone up on it in a hurry, and probably became one of the foremost experts on density, not by design, but by necessity. The land use is the most, one of the most important and critical issues to the areas of Los Angeles that I've represented and that many others represent. It relates to our quality of life. It relates to economic equity, to ensure that somebody doesn't make a killing at the expense of somebody else. The land use regulations that we have are designed not only to protect you against the towering building and the shadow and traffic, it's also to ensure that you don't lose value because somebody else has decided to gain value at your expense. And the job of a city councilman and a mayor and a planning commission and all the people involved is to be essentially the judges, juries, and executioners to ensure that fairness and equity and justice in this process prevails. Now, it is a political process, so everything is in the eyes of the beholder, or the results are in the eyes of the beholder. But at the end of the day, it is our job, or my successor's, in the plural, job, and it's my job in the county, because I have land use responsibility in the unincorporated areas of the county, to ensure that land use issues are dealt with fairly and equitably. The protections that you won here in Sherman Oaks in the 1980s and early 90s, and even before that, in the late 70s, the kinds of density limitations and density reductions that you won, the height limits that you got as a result of the Ventura Boulevard specific plan, some of the most carefully negotiated, most heavily contested land use battles ever to take place in the city of Los Angeles took place along Ventura Boulevard, from one end to the other, the entire 14 miles of it, from Studio City all the way to Woodland Hills. Every parcel was evaluated, every parcel was studied, every block was looked at, and you ended up, for the most part, on Ventura Boulevard with 3- and 2-story height limits, some of the most restrictive height limits in the city of Los Angeles. And that didn't come easy. It came as a result of give and take between people who own commercial property on Ventura Boulevard, people who who owned and represented those who owned residential properties on either side of the boulevard, and et cetera. And I would have thought that those battles were settled issues, that the height limits on Ventura Boulevard were settled issues. That the question of whether to reopen the specific plan on Ventura Boulevard, I think Ellen said it real well, it may have its pluses, I know it has a lot of minuses, because once you open it up,